Okay, hi guys, it's Mary Beth. We are back here with Ignite and we are on session 15. This week we're going to do session 15 and 16, and then next week will be our last week together, and we'll be doing 17 and 18 on Monday and 19 and 20 on Wednesday. All right, so just kind of maybe review some of those pages inside the student manual. It's always nice to go ahead and look ahead in the student manual when you're taking the class so that you know what we're going to be talking about. Maybe you're bringing your questions, your real life questions into the conversation, or experiences, so that we can grow together collaboratively. So and once again, we do have all of our videos are posted on the YouTube channel. I'm just editing the last video. I had to make some cuts because we went into breakout rooms, but you'll see that I have the first 13 sessions here on the playlist for Ignite. So if you ever want to go and review this, or dive into one of these chapters, please feel free, and also share it with your friends. And so here we are in the last pillar of the class. And as we review every single time, the first pillar was learning who we are, our job in this industry. And then the second pillar was the lead generation aspect, which is go out and find those clients to work with, build that database, right? Build that database. And I hope that through that five classes that we have in that session, that you wrapped your head around having a solid, healthy database, that is your business. And anytime that you have a challenge, it's just, spend some time in your database, reorganize it, make sure you're doing all the right things with it, set it, and not forget it, but like set it and let it do its work. You work it while it's working. And then lead follow up is like, as the leads come out of your database, as people say, hey, here's somebody, or a raise of a hand, especially social media, or a response to a text or an email, that's where we get into lead follow up. And that pillar is just as important as the first two. I see a lot of people get to that pillar and leads just go by the wayside, and all that time and effort and energy. And maybe they caught one or two leads, and they could have caught 6 leads if they had systems in place. So, of course, not you, right? But systems in place helps you catch the lead, build the database, catch the lead, and communicate with it in a systematic way, right? Service all the leads that come your way. And we identified in the lead follow up section also that it's not always, I'm going to sell your house, I'm going to give you a rental, we're going to come over and do a consultation. Sometimes in servicing all the leads that come your way, it may just be giving them a great insurance contact, or a home equity line of credit, a loan officer that they can, really trust, an attorney, a painter that they might need. So lead follow-up is not always go over and take the listings. Often it's not. And so we need to know how to convert that into business. So in the transaction piece is when we actually have somebody who's raised their hand and has said, I, yes, need to sell my house at some point, whether they're A, B, or C buyer or seller, or I need to buy a house, A, B, or C buyer. And that means that we've started the opportunity. And I want you guys to kind of connect with that inside of your commands. You go on the appointment, you start the opportunity. It's not when you have the buyer and seller together and you're closing in 2 weeks that you start the opportunity and put all the stuff in. The whole point of opportunities inside of command is that you can watch your pipeline feed your GCI, and you can count on the people that are in your database to perform well because you got them in a system, and therefore you're going to expect some ratios and numbers to come out of your database. While you're building and bringing in more, your database should be producing you leads to work with. Now, if we are not at that level, if that is not happening at the level that we wish it to, and I myself included in the sales aspect, it is not happening at the level I would like it to, I have to own it. I have to own it. It's either I don't have them on the right plan, I'm really not making the phone calls in between, maybe the text messages aren't moving, maybe some people have deleted or they opted out so they're not receiving the messages. The only way you're going to know that is if you're actually in the database, looking at doing the DTD2s, calling your 2 letters a day, and actually looking and working in the database. Like, oh, gee, I didn't even realize Barbara knocked herself off of this search. Let me reach out and say, hey, Barbara, did you do this by accident, or did your criteria change? You know, don't assume Barbara doesn't like me and she doesn't want to work with me. Barbara, did your criteria change? Is that why you opted out of that email? And she says, oh my gosh, I did it by accident. Can you put me back on? Instead, what do? We go, Barbara doesn't want to work with me. Oh my God, that was such a waste of time. I'm never calling Barbara again. And then you see Barbara at the store and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to see Barbara. And you ruin like that whole great thing you had going with Barbara's pipeline of referrals. All because Barbara just accidentally hit the unsubscribe button.
We're so human. It's all, our egos.
It is. It is. It just says, we want to be accepted. We want to be liked. We don't want to be rejected. All of us don't want to be rejected. So when somebody rejects us in a text message, we get like highly offended. And it's like, no, it's a text message. Let's be real. So, and we also have to dig like what about my message wasn't compelling for them to be wanting to receive these messages? What was not of value? And so winning the buyer, winning the seller, that is all. Have you added enough value? And I've said this a numerous amount of times. Have you made enough deposits so that you can ask for a withdrawal with confidence? And that's in your relationships, on your personal and your professional. Have you personally made enough deposits to be asking for withdrawals? And maybe you're like, yeah, well, I put 5 years into that. Great. What have the last 5 years been like? Because it's always a work in progress, relationships, period. So we're going to move on with work with buyers and sellers. Today we're talking about win the seller, and then we're going to go into making and receiving offers, negotiating those offers, getting to the closing, and then also planning your future, which is your post-close business, and what do you do after the sale. So as we dive into this session, this is what it looks like. Sellers, identifying them, categorizing them, the right questions to ask, getting the appointment. So getting the appointment, pre-qualifying for the appointment is very different than sitting at the listing appointment. And so when we were talking about the buyer side, as we went into role play, some of us really stuck to the questions, some of us got creative. And I just want to make a point here that with the pre-listing packet, with the qualifying questionnaire that you would have for a seller, that is for you to gain motivation, for you to understand what experience have they had in this whole idea that they want to sell the house. It's not your time to present on pricing and strategy and marketing and who you are, who your company. That is not the time. It is, I'm going to pre-qualify the seller so I know what to bring for the appointment. When I get to the appointment, I'm going to still be asking more questions, and I'm going to present to isolate the objection, handle it, give them what they want, move them forward, influence them to make the right decision, list with me. And then we're going to have the listing agreement, and the listing agreement presentation. And I do want to, show you one, is important that you've read the listing agreement. I won't ask you to by a show of hands, but if you have not read the listing agreement, and if you haven't read it recently, I urge you to read it, because I've been licensed for a long time and they just keep changing them, and every MLS has a different one. And then some MLSs you could use the Garden State one with the CJ and the MLS. Okay. I just like to use the right one with the right MLS, and they all look a little different. So listen, you could be thinking you're super confident, you're going on this listing appointment, you open up the paper, hello, and I'm like, oh, hold on a second. Where is the commission on this? Where is it the protection clause? Where is and I look like a fool? Well, shame on me. So all of you have a duty to go and read the listing agreement, and also read the buyer contract. The New Jersey sales contract has changed. Kristen, you're in it 4 years now, right? I believe I think the contract has changed in the last 4 years. There have been changes that you probably have read and been like, wait, did they just put that in there? Okay, so we need to just make sure we're comfortable with the language. I remember a long time ago, and it's an agent who's in the business. She's a broker now. But I remember we were at Moore's Tavern, and she was with a client. And thank God I was actually in the booth next to her, like with friends, because here she is trying to write up the offer, and she's trying to sound all sophisticated. And my realtor ear starts going. And I'm like, oh gosh, she's gonna botch this up. So I had to go over there, sit down with her. I mean, she was my agent. I had to rescue her. And I explained the contract to the guy, and she was like, thank God. Oh my God. I almost whipped out my dummy contract, and then I would have looked so unprofessional. And it was a big sale. It was a Southern Manalapan sale at the time. I remember it was close to $1 million, which that was a lot back then. So, you know, you don't want to look unprofessional. You don't want to be preparing for at the table. You got to prepare before you get to the table, which would mean be a professional and read the New Jersey real estate contract from start to finish. Read the disclosures, understand what you're asking somebody to sign. And especially with the listing agreement, they're going to be looking for the out. What happens if you don't? So you need to know when they ask you a question with confidence where it is in writing and what it actually means. There's a piece in the listing agreement, and I want you guys to know this, where it says that beyond the listing agreement, you're going to be protected for a certain amount of days. God forbid that listing does not sell in the 6 months that you have it contracted for. Well, after that 6 months, a lot of us put 180 days. What that just means is if it were not to list with any other broker, because the clause that's right there that a lot of people don't read is that unless it's listed with another broker. So if it doesn't list with any other broker and this property sells within those 180 days, you're going to still be owed a commission. That's what that clause says. So sellers will question that. And the way you get them to calm down about it is, Mr. Seller, if I didn't do my job, I'm sure you're going to be relisting with another agent. If that's the case, that's not going to happen. And when that does happen, that would actually void out this protection clause. Right? Because the truth is, they would have new broker representation with a new brokerage and a new commission that was ordered by the listing agent. So if you have any contract questions, you have any listing questions, please reach out to either your compliance broker in your main office. I'm good for a quick question. Yolanda is my broker. She's very good at quick questions. And of course, we have the infamous Dino that can answer broker questions. So, all right, let's jump in here. While leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it at its highest level with the lowest cost and the highest net. Now, I believe this right out the gate. Why? If we look at our book, it asks us to say, what are the seller values? So if I take a look at our Ignite here, and I'm in the Win with Seller, talk to me a bit about the virtues of a seller. Seller listings mean marketing opportunities. Just unmute, kind of shout out. What does that mean? When you have a listing, what kind of marketing opportunities do you get? Give me just 3 top marketing things that happen when you get a listing.
Exposure to a neighbor that might want to sell.
Great. So you have the opportunity to go into the neighborhood and even do a nice little warm, like we're doing this even before we hit market. It's coming soon. You see the sign, right? So you have that opportunity to be a realtor in the neighborhood. Who else could you be marketing? Come on, just spit it out. Who are you marketing? You take a listing. Who are you telling?
You're telling people on your Facebook?
Everybody, right? Everybody on your Facebook. On top of that, Kim, you should also, and some of you don't think about this, every time you get a listing, every time you do a buy or sell, every time it closes, every time it goes under contract, that should be a one-off templated email that goes out to your database. Your database should know that you are working and that you are closing, that you are influential, you have market share. They should not be looking at you at the Christmas party that they see you this year and go, how's the business? You still doing it? Like, you still doing it? Yeah, you still doing it. Don't you see my emails? I'm so freaking busy. Even if they just see that, and Kim, to your point, social media is fantastic. Here's what the email has done now. I mean, just for me, maybe it's just my age. If I get an email, I know that they have somebody that's running their admin business. To me, it's very professional. They still running their plans in the email as well as doing their social media plan. Maybe I also get a text message about it. And I'm like, okay, they got all audiences activated. So yes, you're going to think about who that audience is when you get that seller, but we have the social media, we have the neighbors, and we also have everybody in the database. We also have, and these are people who should be in your database, anybody who was thinking of listing, all of the seller appointments you've been on and they haven't actually listed yet. Your past clients, that should be in your database. But at the end of the day, when that listing goes to market, it's going to syndicate to all these different sites and you're going to get buyer inquiries. You have more control of your time. How so? Talk to me about that. Why do you have more control of your time?
Well, people make appointments to see the home you're listing.
Right? You don't even have to be there, Gina. You don't even have to show up. I don't advise you being there unless it's a specialty house that you need to make sure you're pointing out the features, and then that's a really exclusive kind of product. But yeah, right, Gina, you just say book it through Showing Time and use your super key, and we got the blue lockbox, and just, you know, if you run a buyer, you're gonna run hours and hours and hours, and then you still may not get that house. You take a listing, you are going to sell it in the next couple of weekends. Right? So that's where you get more time. Seller listings maximize your per hour compensation. Well, that just goes into the factor of time, dollar per hour. And that's a great exercise that everybody should do. You need to start to calculate those hours that you're spending. Make 2024 be the year. You know, if you're full-time or if you're part-time, whatever you are, doesn't matter. You have to say I'm a full-time agent and a full-time whatever else if you're a dual. Because you don't shut the real estate off, right? But dollar per hour. You take the hours that you've put into the business. If you put the same amount of hours every month, let's say, then do it for a month. Track your hours. How many hours did you look at property, sit at a class, go to an open house, go visit a customer, how many hours? Network with the agents, meet an affiliate, all of that counts. How many hours did you put in? How much money did you make? Chop it up. Made 50,000, worked 500 hours. I don't know. Is that $100 an hour? Maybe something like that. So you figure it out, and then you know what your worth is. So if somebody asks you to go do a job and you have another job and they're saying, well, I'm going to pay you X amount, and you measure it, you go, no, my goal is this. I'm going to put more time into this because I know what I'm worth as an agent. Also, when you're sitting there with a seller or a buyer that's asking you to negotiate off because there's a challenge in a home inspection, you need to stand firm when you know what your dollar per hour is. And sometimes some commissions are pretty nice that you're like, I am getting paid a little bit more than what I usually get paid because of the 3% or, you know, the price point or whatever it may be. And you might be willing to, but that's business decisions. Volume, volume, volume. Look, volume just gives you credibility in the market. It allows you to, you know, just show that you were asked to represent somebody's biggest asset. And volume equals what? Commission. The commission runs off the volume. It's a percentage of the commission. Then it says with seller listings, you're on the front end of pricing. You ever think about that? That if your business is mostly on sellers, that means that you're sitting with sellers months before they hit market, at least a couple weeks before they hit market. You are absolutely in the know of the new products that are coming. And I promise you, your buyer prospecting, your seller prospecting is so much more valid because you are talking about houses that haven't even hit the market. And yet they're coming. Oh, and I was sitting with this client, and, you know, I was consulting them. They're going to be redoing the kitchen. And these people, they're not doing anything, you know, all the different reasons. And you become valid and you're at the front end of pricing. And the sixth one is properly marked seller listings bring more business. Now, does anybody want to mention, like, kind of comment as to why it says properly marketed seller listings bring more business and not just marketed seller listings? What does a not properly marketed seller listing look like? What would we be experiencing if it was not properly marketed? So what happens is you lose validity with your classmates, right? It's not priced right. It doesn't get the action that you were expecting. You lose validity with the neighbors. It didn't sell so quickly, huh? You have people coming through the open house and they're walking right out, not making offers. Now the house is stale. Now you lose value in the property, even though had you priced it even a little bit lower, you would have got more than what you're going to get. So you lose a lot when you misprice a property. And that is the biggest way you market a property, is by pricing it properly. Okay. So, what is an A buyer? Able, ready, and willing to do business in the next 14 days. That is an A seller. Sorry, not an A buyer, A seller. Right? An A seller sounds like, can you come over today, Gina? Because I really need to know what we're going to be doing. I got to get all this stuff out of the house this weekend because I got to get this on the market by next week because I found a house and we put an offer on it and we got it. And I don't have to sell this house, but I want this to be done like yesterday. That is an A seller. You literally drop everything you have going on for that A seller. I spoke to an agent out west yesterday. I was looking at some farm property and she said, well, I can show it to you on, she just took this property off the market. You know, and let me just tell you something, guys. Make sure your profiles look good. Make sure your bios say what you want to say about you. Like, do a little bit of time, because this woman really impressed me with her write-up, with her inventory, everything that she spoke to me. It was all about farmland, multiple buildings. It was just the way and I did some research at other agents in that area because I figured, well, if she sells over there, Hunterdon County, I mean, probably a lot of agents sell farmland, this and that. Nope, I looked around. Nobody spoke the way she spoke about her passion, about what she did. That I text messaged her, said, hey, I just saw a property. It was on my KW app. I don't see it anymore. And now I see it's off market. And she said, it is off market. I just pulled it off for the weekend, for the winter. Would you still like to see it? Right. So now I'm going to go see it. But then she said to me, I think I'm going to put a listing on this week. So I don't know if I'll be able to be with you this weekend. Would that be? I said, girl, you're going to sell that listing. You can't be with me. If you got a new listing hitting market on Thursday, like you're occupied all weekend. I get it. And that is what you're going to experience, guys. You take a new listing on a Wednesday, you're occupied all weekend with good stuff, energy. You sold the house. You did an open house. You got 3 new buyers. And you have now started your, I mean, it could be the launching pad of your career. I remember one Oxford in Manalapan. It was not my listing. It was a Del Demoro's. I sat there until that thing sold. And the amount of business I did off of it, millions. I still know the family. They still live in Manalapan. They're never leaving. But they've referred so much business along the way. Because you know what? I knew that house. I knew that neighborhood. Here's something that Adele always shared with me. If you don't have a listing and you find a listing, ask that agent, can I do this open house until this sells? Don't go hopping around to different listings. Like by weekend number 2, you really look like you know this house. You really know the neighborhood. People have seen you in the neighborhood, that when you go and knock on the neighbor's door to let them know one more time, it's going to be a little busy here because we got an open house going. We're having brokers by on Thursday. And guys, that is still a thing. Talk about that in servicing the seller. Broker open houses are still a thing. Why would you have a broker open house in this market? So those of you who might not know what a broker open house is, okay? During the day, brokers have like open tours. So instead of having a public open house, you have a broker open house, a broker tour. And so it's open for really anybody. Even if you had a client, you can kind of bring them through that time. But they're usually like 12 to 1 or 11 to 1 or 1 to 2. They're all weird times, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, depending where you are in Monmouth County, where you are in Middlesex County, where you are in Ocean County. Okay. And so you go on broker tour. One of the things that I did regularly every Thursday, because that was our office meeting day, and in Manalapan Marlboro Freehold, that was the day we had broker tours. Every Thursday, it was office meeting, caravan with the crew, go see some properties. And the reason why in today's market, why would you have a broker open when you're going to sell it in the weekends? The truth is, I may miss the house because I don't have a client today, but maybe Wednesday I pick up a client and you're having a broker open on Thursday and I actually see the inventory And I'm like, you got to see this. So us exposing our inventory to other agents in this market will only create more interest in real time because it's moving so fast. We don't have a month to wait. You know, typically you wouldn't have a broker open house until like week 3 when you run out of things. Like weekend 1, we're doing an open house. Weekend 2, we're doing an open house. Gosh, if this thing doesn't sell by then, week 3, we go and do a broker open, right? And then we start it all over again, Mr. Seller. If it doesn't sell by day 30, guess what? We have a listing appointment and we're going to review the comps. And if you haven't sold in 30 days, we're going to reposition the property. And then guess what? We're going to do it all over again because there's really no magic. It's just about pricing it properly and having the condition and the accessibility on point. You know, I had a house you could never get into. If you can't get into, you can't show it, you can't sell it. Right? And that's what you got to tell the seller. You can't show it, you can't sell it. They start putting all these, well, you can only do it this time and that time. And I heard you tell me on the listing appointment that the price was the most important thing. Is it price or convenience? Which one is it? Because if it's convenience, then we're going to have to give up a little bit on price. If it's price, then we're going to make this be a open sesame every day, all day long. Oh, but I have dogs. Put the dogs in the car. Let's go. Take the dogs for a walk. Okay, so able, ready, willing to do business in the next 14 days. And guys, you need to be ready. It could be it's an emergency. It could be a death in the family. It could be they found a house and they want to move on it. So they got to get this on the market. It could also be you know, a relocation of a job. So you're so excited that you got this listing opportunity. You also have to remember it might not be attached to a happy move. So you're there to facilitate the move. The 3 L's of the MREA, you guys know this: listings, leads, and leverage. Leverage is command. For a single agent, leverage is command. For a experienced agent with a team, leverage is command. Leverage is also hiring somebody from your agent group, or you need somebody, ask me, I got the coaching group, to run your showings or go to your inspection. Okay. Leverage looks like hiring somebody for $100 to go to the walkthrough and then go to the closing and bring the check back to the office. Because you know what? Your seller ain't going to be there. They just, you know, signed the docs and they left. Your buyer, they're not really, they don't really care. They're like, I'm not even going to be there. She's not. And right. So you send somebody for $100 because you can't be there, but you want somebody to represent them. If you're a busy agent, leverage could be a showing agent that on Saturday, I am showing my A buyers, but I have B buyers and I want to entertain them because who knows, the right house might strike, you know, strike while it's hot. So I have showing agents that show other buyers. And what do you pay the showing agent? $1 per hour, or, and that's how you got to know what you're worth to say yes or no to a showing for X amount of dollars per hour. Or is it per door opened? Or, you know, if you get me, I'm like, let me give you a couple $100. I don't know. One kid's like, are you serious? Is that too much? I don't know. Right? I mean, I'm used to just cutting somebody in on the deal. You're saving my client. Thank you so much. So we talked all about this. We talked about our seller listing virtues, and this is also in the MREA, right? The virtues of a seller's listing. And this is the 7-step seller cycle. Like in the last class, we had the buyer cycle. This is the seller cycle. And it's kind of similar. We lead conversion. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we got together and we decided the next step was for us to meet. Then we had a pre-listing, which is our pre-listing packet, our questionnaire. Then we actually moved to the listing consultation where you and the seller get together, all parties that are making decisions, all parties on that deed. And then we're going to service and market the listing to attract the buyer to negotiate the offers that come in and then take it to close. And then we're going to stay in relationship with them forever. So that's number 7. And so this is your 7-step seller cycle. A lot of times people don't even experience the lead conversion to the pre-listing. They go to the listing appointment, they get the listing, and they think they're a rock star. Okay. The truth is, those are your come list me's. You're going to get those. I hope you get those because you're nice people and the people that you have in your sphere love you and they want to support you. And sometimes it's just a matter of asking them. You know, I have friends and family who don't necessarily live in my county, but they'll give me their listing when I ask them for it. You're in Essex, I'll take it. You're in Bergen, no problem. We got NJMLS. I'll take a listing 40, 50 minutes from me because I know every single market. I've worked in them. So what skill do I need as a listing agent? I need to be able to price the property right. I need to market it properly. I need to negotiate for that seller. Does it matter that I go to show the house? I don't necessarily need to be there. I can hire a showing agent and I can go up there one time, show them the house, tell them this is how I want it shown. You're my showing agent. And guess what? Any buyer leads come in, you're also the buyer's agent. And I can sit back on a listing that's sitting up in Fort Lee for $1.2 million and negotiate it from my home in Middlesex County. That's what this internet really did to our industry. It gave us more opportunities. Because if we had to sell just what's up and down Route 9 or what's just up and down, Route 1, we'd be pigeonholed into a market that maybe isn't yielding lots of opportunities. But our whole state is our opportunity. And I want you guys to think about that. For sellers, heck yeah, you would go and take an hour trip to go take a seller. Now, a buyer, you really would be doing them a disservice if you were trying to run a buyer in a market that you weren't there. You couldn't go preview houses. You couldn't run and go show them at 7 o'clock the house right now because they got to be in that, like double Dutch, they got to be in that game and ready to make an offer. So when you're servicing a seller in this market, I would not advise it if it's out of market and you're not comfortable. I would refer it. But if you're working on listings and you're skilled and you're a darn good negotiator, I would encourage you to take the listing. So, some might differ. That's just my opinion. I don't care. Everybody's got it. So, all right. So ahas on the seller cycle, on the virtues of the seller, wrapping your heads around why you would even want to go after sellers. Anything else I may have said that was on a bunny trail? Any ahas you could share with me? I'm gonna miss you guys. We're coming down. It's like we have 4 classes left. We're halfway through our last of 4. But any ahas that you have about working with sellers, seller virtue, the benefit of the cycle that you'll have?
I liked your idea of, if the house doesn't move in 30 days, to sit down and sort of do it again, do the CMA again, just redo everything, make sure it's priced right. I thought that was a good tip.
Yeah, Gina, that was typically I would have this 30-day plan. It was like on a 30-day calendar. I mean, I could find it, throw it in the drive, but it was a 30-day plan and day 30 was an appointment. So when I would sit with this seller, I would literally look at my calendar and be like, okay, it is it's October 30th. So November 30th, is that a good night for you guys? It's a Tuesday night. No, let's make it Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday that week, we have a tentative appointment at 7 o'clock to reconvene to talk about what's going on with your house. Hopefully we're in a position to talk about that the home inspection is going amazing, right? If not, we're just going to revisit everything we talked about here and understand what happened over the last 30 days that didn't get us to a successful sale. I mean, I'm not going to say it's my fault either because the market is the market. We together at the listing table are going to decide what is the best listing price strategy. So we're going to do this together. I don't really want to coach any of you to go into a listing and say, the house is $475. Is it? No, it's 460 to like 490 is the range that we just looked at, right? It could be 450 to 5, but it's somewhere around there. Talk to me about what price you want to put on this. I'm like, no, it's you. Okay, we fight about it. A lot of times we're in New Jersey, New York. People are going to tell you what they think. So you work off of that and we just figure it out. But we're going to choose the price together. I'm not choosing the price because if you choose the price, you're at fault when it's not selling as fast as it did. Or, oh, what about this one? It sold too fast. You underpriced my house. I'm telling you, there's people out there all year that have had that feeling about their agent, that they did the job too fast. They think they left money on the table. Okay. So, and that is not the truth because we just know that the market is going to speak. And that is language that I really want you guys to have is the market is speaking. Well, we've had no showings. We've had no offers. the market is speaking. Like, what the hell does that mean? That means that if we go and look at how many views this thing has had on realtor.com and on your website and here and there and everywhere, we've had millions of people look at it and nobody has raised their hand. Or all these people raised their hands. I got emails, I got inquiries. Nobody showed the property and nobody came to look at it. Or they came to look at it, walked through the house, and nobody made an offer. There's something wrong. The market is speaking. Right. And that's when, and I just another tip for you, and this might be even in the future, is that's when you can pull out the broker open house card. The broker open house card is, well, it's not going to be my opinion as to we got to lower the house. We're going to have a broker tour right before we're going to have this conversation. And guess what I'm going to have? Pieces of paper like this size that say, give me your opinion. Do you think it's priced well? Do you think it's, give me a comment. And I'm going to ask you all to fill it out, put your name and your brokerage on it. And then I'm going to, leave them there with the agent. So, or well, not leave them there, but, have them there to talk to the seller about all of these agents who had opinions, local friends of mine, local, colleagues that sell in this area. Dave, I see your hand up.
Hey, Mary Beth, just real quick. I had a seller exactly what you just described. And she says to me, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take the house off the market. We're going to wait till spring and we're going to raise it 500,000. It was a 1.5. They want to bring it to 2 million because we underpriced the house. And that's why we only got 2 showings in 3 months. So what do you say to that?
And now she's still listed?
No, she took it off the market.
Oh, she took it off the market. Well, she's
Yeah.
the kind of person that, she'll luck out. She'll put it back on the market in the spring and it would have caught up with her. And she'll tell you all about yourself, how she was right.
Well, hopefully not.
No.
But
No,
yeah.
but you got to go back to motivation. You got to go back to motivation. When they do that, you have to go, why are they doing that? Something is either scaring them that they want to put it so far unreachable that, yeah, if somebody gives me that price, I'll get it. This scared me. It went too fast. Or they're looking at it going, Dave, I really think Dave shortchanged us. I'm not, and they're questioning your professionalism
Yes.
and your right. So
Oh, yes.
I don't know that right. So I don't know if he's the right agent. And for me, because I've mispriced things for sure, I would most likely say, you know what? This is what I usually do. I usually bring in the brokers. So I would love to have a broker tour even before we hit market.
Yep.
It could be an off market, private, exclusive. We have a little nosh, some cheese, some wine, and we make it nice because if it's 2 million, I want her to feel like I think her house is amazing. So I'm going to do a few things to repair
Okay.
that relationship that you have with them. I'm going to do a few things to kind of kiss butt a little bit and get them
Yep.
back where I need them to be, happy with me. But I'm going to let everybody give me an opinion of where they think their price is. And maybe next time she puts it on, she says 1.8 instead of 2 because she realizes it was too much.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, I'm willing to
Thank
help
you.
you with your broker tour. I love doing a little, twilight kind of nosh and it's, hour, 2 hours. It does not have to be a big, long thing, guys. Broker open houses. You guys think it has to be 3 hours, 4 hours. No, it does not. It could be 1 hour. You market it and they come. That's it. It's 1 to 2. It's 12 to 2. That's it. Okay. All right. So kind of talked a bit about this, but the keys to converting your A sellers, you got to respond right away. Let me give you one more. Okay. So I was looking for a buyer who's a seller, and I found on Facebook Marketplace a house. You guys ever go on there and find houses? I found a house and I thought this is too good to be true. It literally has the white picket fence like she likes, the garage like she likes, the basement, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's under 400. Like this is insane, right? And guess what? It was a real person, like real live person. Now, Mary Beth was not as aggressive as Mary Beth should have been, but it wasn't my focus in that moment. And for you, I hope this doesn't happen. Because the guy says to me, I'm not working with an agent. I said, that's okay. I just want to come see the house. If my buyer wants to buy it, I'm going to put it in the offer anyway. Oh, okay. And then I kind of got a little lax because I was worried about getting her under contract on her listing. Well, fast forward, I reached out to him today. Hey, can we come see the house? And he said, hey, call this lady. She's going to be listing it.
Ah,
And I was like, I did what Gina did. Right. And that was because here's a guy who's got tenants in his property. He's trying to, you could tell he's trying to save as much money as he can. And I should have responded right away of, no, how about tomorrow? Let me come tomorrow. Let me see you tomorrow. I would have sure as hell been able to convince him. I mean, he's listing it with a Fugazi kind of company that isn't even gonna like a little mommy pop. Anyway, so I know I would have been able to do a better job for him. And I just responded to, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I wasn't more assertive. Hopefully I'll reach out to her and I'll show the house as soon as I can. But I missed that opportunity because I did not jump on it. Get valid and complete contact information. You ever do this? Walk away from somebody and be like, oh my God, that was like the best seller lead ever. And what was her name again? And where did she live? I didn't even ask her where she lived. I gave her my cell number and that was it. You got so nervous. You didn't know what to do. Okay. Don't do that. Breathe. You're in control. Get all the right information so you can create the opportunity, which is in commands. They're not talking about just an opportunity to make money. They're telling you to go to commands and create the actual opportunity. That's number 2. Determine their motivation to sell so that you can speak to it. And Dave, that's something you probably know, but you probably want to revisit it. And if they were willing to take it off market, let's say for winter, I would be questioning where really is their motivation. And the other thing is, you know, Dave, for somebody like
Yeah.
that, if they have tons of equity, something else I would probably do is I would kind of get a little smart with them just so they see some more value. And I would ask them if they were entertaining the holding a note for the buyer.
Yes, we went that route also, and the answer was no. But yes, they do have a ton of equity, and they do not need the money, so they're just testing the market. But at the same time, the husband says one thing and the wife says the other. So one is somewhat motivated, and one just wants to make as much money as possible. So they're both in 2 different directions, which makes it even a little bit harder.
You know, and then for everybody here, and God forbid if this were, but you know, something changes in the familial situation, somebody's
Yep.
sick or a child moves to a state and they're like, you know what, we want to spend more time. And if you're not there to catch that, right? So you got to be checking in with them. When they go a little quiet over the winter, they're coming back on in the spring. Don't let them go too quiet. You got to be checking in. That's for everybody. Set an appointment, time, and date for as soon as possible, and then send the pre-listing packet. So I have a seller that I'm meeting with November 8th. No, November 8th is our business planning clinic in Perth Amboy. Those of you who can make it, I would love for you to be here. It's complimentary and it's on a Wednesday. But she's not listing until the spring, and we have an appointment for November to get together to go over just strategy and concept of pricing. And I'm going to tell her what I think would need to be done in order for the house to show its best. That is it. I'm doing it now, and I'm going to secure the listing. I'm going to my thing is, let's go on for February 2nd. Let's go on for Groundhog Day. Right. And then if they say no, okay, come on, how about my birthday, March 2nd? Right. So I usually get them one of those. And we reviewed this in another session, what sellers want most from their agent. And as we help price home competitively, help seller market the home to potential buyers, help sell the home within specific time frame, help seller find ways to fix up the home. Those are all your highest at 27 is the other. Your first is help price the home. All of those you are completely capable of doing with enough research and confidence in your presentation. They are just asking you to tell them about the market and tell them what you do. So build confidence and trust, right? And how you build confidence and trust, and this goes back to the 7 close to appointment tactics that we talked about last week with the buyer. Show the benefits. And this is showing the benefits of the appointment, guys. This is not showing the benefits of working with you. This is showing the benefits of why we should meet, why the next step sounds like we should meet. Okay, and when we're in that mode, we are not selling our commission. We're not selling what we're going to do with the listing. We're not selling what our price opinion is. We're not selling we're not selling anything. We're just selling the benefit to the seller as to why we should close for an appointment. Why should the natural next step be an appointment? Now, the benefit here, showing the benefit would be, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I meet with my sellers. I mean, gosh, sometimes it's a few years out. Some of my sellers have asked if they should put a new kitchen and a new bathroom. And I've just popped by, because I know they're going to be selling in 5 years. Some of them are going to sell in the springtime and I go over in the winter. And some of them need to sell next week. So the benefit of me coming over to sit and talk with you is so that when you are ready to make that move and go ahead and list the home to sell, you know the process and you've asked the questions. So negative, positive, would it make sense for me to come by, give them what they're looking for? Maybe they are asking for your price point. You're going to tell them, look, it's anywhere from here to here. Your neighborhood is ranging from 6 to 800,000. Your neighborhood is ranging 600,000 for the ranches up to 800,000 for the 5-bedroom colonial. That's enough information to go, hey, I want to hear more. Give them what they're looking for. Well, I did ask you, like, what is commission nowadays? I haven't done this in so long. Mr. Seller, I hear that that's important to you. What I've experienced in this market is it could range anywhere from 3% to 8%. Depends on what we're looking for. Depends on the condition. When can I come by and take a look at the house? Sounds like trial close. Sounds like, doesn't make enough sense. That sounds like I've given you enough information. We've gone through enough questions. Sounds like you still have more questions. That the next step might be me coming by and taking a look at the property with you. Right? Wouldn't you? Let's meet today or tomorrow. I'm assuming our next step should be this. So we're going to definitely, the 2 points in here is you're showing them benefits about why they need to meet with you about an appointment, to hear all about these things. You're not selling them. And if they ask you what's your commission, sounds like that's important to you. I'm going to write that down, Mr. Seller. Sounds like that it's important to you. It's anywhere from 3 to 8%. And I'm going to make that be one of the first things we address when I come over. And so how's Saturday? Saturday at 10, Saturday at 4. No, not this weekend. Great. How about during the week? Is during the week better for you? Tuesday nights? Thursday afternoons? Weekends again. Okay, how's 2 weeks from now, right? And this is where you're asking 7 times until, you know what? You're going to annoy them and they're going to cut you out. So stop it. And you need to know when that is. Right? And versus questions versus objections. Was it a question or was it an objection? If it's a question, you answer it and you move on. Are you able to negotiate your commission? No. Okay, great. I mean, they might ask another follow-up question. Can you also represent the buyer on my property? Yes. Okay, great. That's called dual agency. Okay, great. We think that we need to go into this whole explanation that this becomes an objection. Now we need to handle it. They don't want us to be, I cannot tell you how many times I've consulted an agent and they'll say to me, they don't want me to be a dual agent, or they don't want this. Do they say that? Well, no, because they said this and this and that. And so that's probably what they want. Well, did you ask them? No, you're making assumptions. Okay. So sometimes when they ask you a question and you know the answer, that's just a question. Just answer it. Don't allow it to be an objection. However, if it's, well, I had another agent come by and tell me that they could do it for less. Now we have an objection. Now they're objecting to what you put out there because they've heard there's something else. They have an objection. We have to get them over this. We can't just give them the answer. It's not going to go away. The objection is going to linger there. Right? The objection of, well, I don't really want to have a lockbox on my property. How about if they ask you, do I have to have a lockbox on my property? Yes. And you see the face. Let me ask you what about that question? Why did you ask me that question? Is that important to you? Talk to me about that. Well, I'm not really crazy about people in and out. Right? So now can I handle that objection? I can. Would it make you feel more comfortable if I arranged the showings and we had somebody here to escort them through the home? Yeah, because the little dogs and I have this and I have that and my mother sometimes here. Okay, we could do that. Now will you list with me? Because the objection comes when you're ready to sign the listing, and all of a sudden, oh, you know what though? We're gonna be going to Italy for this month. Or so when we get back, we should do this. Great. You know what? Here's what I have to do from now until then. I have to schedule the home, the photographer. We have to do a little staging. We have to get the whole calendar of marketing. So why don't we sign today? Get me to work. Get me and my team to work. We'll get the photographer in, so we have time to actually approve the marketing. By the time you get back from Italy, we'll have one of the best stellar marketing campaigns for your listing. So let's sign today. Right? We're not going to, that's an objection, but we can handle that one. We can get through that. Now, if you can't get through an objection over the phone, and some of them you don't want to, some of them sounds like that's important to you, let's talk about that when I get there. Because when they look at you in the face, your cutie patootie face, and you show up all professional and you got comps, and you know what, they look at you and go, I don't really want to do this again with 4 more people. You know what? He's a nice guy. George, okay, George, you know what? We'll do it. You're over the phone trying to sell him, and he doesn't know what you look like. He doesn't see your demeanor. He doesn't think that you're a kind person, nice person. And he's easy to go, you know what? Don't call me again. And he hangs up. People are really mean on the phone where nobody could see them, right? And we don't want to give them any opportunity for that. So we want to cut them off, and we want to get to that appointment. Okay. Any questions? Any comments? Anybody been on these appointments that I'm talking about that literally can drive you a little crazy? Gina?
Do you get rejections when, you offer up a pre-listing appointment? Because a lot of people sort of, just seem to want to cut to the chase and talk about the listing and how much and all that sort of stuff. Like, I'm just curious if anybody gets any, oh, we don't need to do 2 appointments. I just want to do 1 appointment. Let's get it done.
So time out. That's a 2-stepper versus a 1-stepper. I'm a 1-stepper, but the pre-listing is a conversation over the phone.
Oh, okay.
Or I could do it on the fly if I met them at an open house and they do have to sell. I'm just going to shoot down those pre-list questions so I know what I'm dealing with when I get to the house. But
Okay.
I don't love 2 appointments. And sometimes you're not expecting to be on 2 appointments, but when you walk at anybody ever go on a listing where you walk into the house and you're like, oh, okay. They did an extension. They blew out the master bedroom over the garage. So we have this huge master suite. I think I'm walking into a typical Gladstone, and it's now a 5,000 square foot house that started out as 2,000 square feet. That's one of those like okie dokes, like we need to come back because what we brought today, technically that house is outpriced the neighborhood, and nobody wants to have that outpriced the neighborhood house. And yet some people just don't care, or they're a contractor and they'll just do the work themselves. So they just cared about the moment. And it's just those contractors that then also want the price back when they go to sell it. So it's that becomes challenging. But that would be the only time I find myself doing a 2-step. And usually I would still say, no, sign the fine. What do you want to list it at? We'll just go. We'll go for 2 weeks, see what it's going to do. If you leave that house without the listing signed, and somebody else takes it, don't ever say somebody took your listing. You lost that listing. You didn't take it. You did not take the listing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to own it. You have to say, where was my opportunity to close on that seller? Sometimes you could answer and say, that seller was not going to close. That seller, now that I think about all the language they use, they were already committed to agent XYZ. And they just wanted to hear one more marketing strategy. They wanted to have one more company, and this happens, guys. They wanted to have one more company come in, because even though they were going to go with their sister, they wanted all the companies to be working for them, right? So they wanted somebody on the inside job to say like, man, I went on that listing appointment, and now they're pushing the listing. So, some people will interview 6 and 7 agents. Most people, as we've seen in the charts, are interviewing 1. 72% of people are interviewing 1. 2 at best, 3 very few, but 3 so your competition is really, really between your 6-inch market, your ears. Because also if you went out there and you saw your competition and you saw what they do to present, I often would have a seller say to me, nobody has talked to me like this. I don't even know, like, clearly you're above the other ones. Like, nobody's giving me any of this data. Right. So, okay. So now we are on the pre-listing packet. What's in that? That is where E to P shows up. Entrepreneurial to purposeful. Entrepreneurial, you could do things naturally and you'll get what you got, and you'll always hit that ceiling and you'll bounce back and you'll get all crazy out of balance, and you'll pop back to balance. And no, breaking through is, I'm going to put a model or system. You know what? I've been going on so many listing appointments that I need to put a pre-listing package together so that every single seller I go and sit in front of, I know I've given them the foundation. Here's the foundation. The foundation is, here's who my company is. Here's who I am, and the testimonies that people have about me. You know, here's my vendor list. Here's some homes I sold. Here's my 14-step marketing plan, so that when I get to your house, we're going to talk about what's most important to you, your house. You're going to be comfortable knowing who I am by my pre-listing packet. And that's why E to P is here, because that is being purposeful. That's being a professional. And it will cut time out of your listing presentations if you ensure that that is delivered. So here's your pre-listing packet goals. Once again, I would love for you to mail me your pre-listing packet. Personally, I find that using the listing presentation that Ashley showed you inside of Command as the pre-listing packet, I have found that to be a great guide. It's not a lot of pages. It has a lot of what we're talking about here in it, and we could pop into it for a second with the time, with time allotted. And so then you would say to me, well, then Mary Beth, what do you use for a listing presentation? Right? Well, the listing presentation for me is going to be really bringing the data to show them where the market is, because if they read everything in the pre-listing packet, I shouldn't have to bring everything talking about the company and all that again. All I should be bringing is a folder there with the data that's pertinent to their house, as well as the listing agreement that I want them to press here, sign hard, and, you know, put me to work. So for some of you, you may be confident, comfortable not having like a true listing presentation because your pre-listing packet is so on point that when you show up at the listing table, guys, I show up at a listing table, it is, hi, how can I help you? Like, I'm here, how can I help you? I know you got the pre-listing packet. I know we talked over the phone. I understand that you need to be here then when your daughter sent me over, whatever it is. What do you want to do? How fast you want to do this? And what price were you thinking? Right? I'm telling them on the pre-listing conversation, I'm going to be over at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. Yeah, can you just make sure I'm going to send you over? What am I going to send them? Homework. I'm going to send you over a seller's disclosure for you to print out. Well, and so this is the thing. If it's somebody savvy and they work at an office, they got a printer, they have a printer in the house, maybe I'll just tell them to print it out. If not, it might get just sent in the mail to them or dropped off. The last seller I took over here, I dropped it off. Hey, just wanted to drop off a packet to you. It's a pop-by. Hey, here's the pre-listing packet as well as your homework. If you could fill all this out for me, it's a seller's disclosure. That, a survey, and a key. Right? That, a survey, and a key. Because what do I need from you? I need for all decision makers to be there. Well, all decision makers, yes, they will be. Okay, great. Are we ready to make a decision? Yes, we are. Okay, great. So when I get there, here's the 3 things I ask of you. If you have a survey, that's awesome. I'm going to send you your homework. That would be great if you had that filled out. And if you have extra keys for the lockbox, that would be awesome. I walk in, there's keys on the table. Do I have to go hard on presenting? Am I there for 2 hours? No. They're ready to list with you. So now you're just addressing what questions they have. It's going to be about pricing, maybe strategy, and it shouldn't be anything about you and what you've sold, what you do, your company. It really shouldn't be anything about that if you've honestly sent them the pre-listing packet. If you haven't, You're going to be there probably going over the pre-listing packet. Maybe you didn't have time. Maybe you secured it for sell by owner today and you're going tomorrow and you're like, I don't even have my pre-listing packet put together. We're going to do it all day tomorrow and then we're going to go. Okay, whatever. Then you're going to probably use the pre-listing packet to have the pre-listing conversation, which is everything about the fluff that really doesn't matter. It does. But most importantly is the pricing and the marketing strategy that you're going to decide on with the seller at the listing appointment. So this listing packet, pre-sell, build the seller's confidence, answer questions and objections before presentation. So I'll pull up the listing consultation out of Command Designs. And like I said, I do think that all the pieces inside of that listing consultation, as you see it called, could just be your pre-listing packet. And this is where you as a professional have to sit and decide what goes in my packet. Now you come and you get a fantastic listing packet. Maybe you just bind them all. Now you got listing packets, grab and goes. I think I shared with you, I used to print 10 out a week. If I gave out 10 packets a week, that meant that 500 packets went out somewhere in Monmouth County for the year. And I would generate 1-2 listing appointments a week from those packets going to specific houses. I started showing you guys when you got here, Remine and identifying properties that are on the hot sell list where they have a high sell score. This would be something that I would send pre-listing packages to. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm your local broker. And, here's a package that shows us all about, if you were ever choosing a realtor, we would love to interview for the job. Send 2 out a week, see what happens. Send 10 out a week. I don't know. But once you have your packet together, you're going to feel more empowered to start giving it out. Because it really is going to tell the whole story as to what you can do for them and who you affiliate with and who you are. Okay, so saves time, makes the consultation experience smoother, shorter by tackling common obstacles, states your value, tells the seller what you bring. Pre-listing criteria. Will you review it in the listing presentation? Yes, basically everything that's in there, those are things that you touch on. They may ask questions about it. Do you have any questions about the packet that I sent you? Oh yeah, you know what, over here in your marketing plan, blah, 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 blah. They give you the question, you tailor make the appointment. You don't need to go present on every bell and whistle if they're asking you about 2 specific things, the marketing plan. And then I think I saw somewhere here, you guys are global. Yeah, because we're moving to Madrid. You guys think you can help me with that? And that may be like, I would have never thought this guy's going to start talking about Madrid. But because I gave him the pre-list packet, he saw some things and he told me what he was interested in. So I told him what he wanted to hear. Stop telling them what you think they want to hear. So if we ask great questions, we will be able to lead the horse to the salt lick and they will drink. So does it eliminate the need for a listing consultation? It possibly could. You could walk in and like I said, the keys could be there and they could say, you know what do you think the price is? $675. Us too. Okay, let's list. We really loved your packet. We love what you had to say. We know your mother from church. We're good to go. Is it a primer for education you will provide at the listing consultation? So you have a brand new seller. They've never sold. They bought their first house with you a few years ago. They're going to sell their first house. Don't assume that they have not got 4 other people lined up because you think they're so loyal. Don't assume. So they say assume. It's like, yeah, assume. Spell it, ass out of me, right? Assume. So is it a primer for education you will provide at the listing consultation? It possibly is. So if you think that you're going to have to go deep on some of the subjects, you might want to bring supplemental materials. Investment property. You may need to bring the net sheet and show them, how the property is performing so that you can establish the cap rate. Right? If there's vacancy in the building. So there may be some supplemental things you'll have to bring according to the products. So, and here you go, client name, pre-listing packet. And it basically is the one that is coming from Command. So a seller consultation preparation checklist. Did you deliver the packet? Did you confirm the appointment, the location, and the time? Did you ensure that all decision makers were going to be there? Did you complete and practice your listing presentation? So what are you going to say when you walk in? How are you going to say? How are you going to introduce yourself, sit at the table, gain control of the conversation? How are you going to walk the house? Have you thought about it all? Like, what's your style? Do you walk the house first? Do you walk the house after? You know, some top agents have a strategy of, you know what, Mr. Seller, I'd love to sit in the, sit down, and they're like, would you like to see the house? I'd love to talk about it first. And so now I've cut out the you telling me that your house is worth so much more because everything was redone 8 years ago and 5 years ago and the roof is 10 years old and it's all brand new, right? We're not going through that. We're going to go right to the table and have a business conversation about the pre-listing packet, your motivation, and consulting you to sign the listing agreement and what happens next. So really, not that I don't have to see your house, I do have to see your house so we can get to pricing, but all the other stuff, you and I get to decide on the price. If you're comfortable with the way I'm handling myself and explaining process and expectations, then put me to work. Let's decide on the price after we look at the house. And so some top agents will not give that price if they will not get the signature. So put the signature down first, Mr. Seller, and then I give you my advice on pricing. Now, I've never been that agent to withhold that, but I know a few of my friends that that's their style. Okay. And look, all things happen because something happens, right? So they lost a listing to somebody who used their price, and then they go, I'm not doing that anymore. Complete and practice the presentation. So review the lead sheet. Go back and see, okay, well, Mr. Seller said this, and he mentioned the dog was biting here. I put it down here. Okay, so Chappie's, I'm going to greet Chappie, right? Or he said the motivation is the grandkids. Got to remember that. Or he said he really loved golfing, and I bring him a book, a present when I walk in. One of the best strategies with a seller is to bring a present when you walk into the house. It could just be a plant. It could be a struff. What are those things called? A little struffle. I don't know. Pastries. It could be just something. It could be a candle. I know you're going to sell your house. You're going to probably see a lot of this. It could just be something that makes you stand out. So reviewing the lead sheet, maybe if it's personal, it will stand out a little more. And then arrive to the listing presentation in a professional manner. Like on time, like early. Like sit outside the house for a few minutes. Relax, breathe, fix your hair. Like make sure you're walking in calm. You're not all like huffing and puffing because you're rushing from one place to the next. Be there on time. Don't park in the driveway. I mean, don't pull up and park in the driveway. What happens if you're in the middle of presenting, their teenage daughter's like, I got to get the car out of the garage and I got to go, and this person's blocking me. Now you've totally disrupted your presentation. You might as well just pack up and go. So you don't pull in the driveway, you pull in the front of the house, and you're able to walk up. And you know what I used to always do? And I don't know if this was a Adele trick. I do think this was an Adele tip. You just stand at the driveway and you look at the house. And you admire the house, and you take note, because how many times, if you've been on a listing appointment, you ran into that house? I don't even know. Is the roof did the roof look new? Did they change the window? I don't even know, because I'm rushing right to the front door. So she'd always say, take a look at the property, take a look at how long the setback is, so when you walk in, they see you noticing the house. You're not just rushing in for the commission. Okay, so the tips and the tricks, right? We get from all the experience. So running into the listing appointment now. Well, let's have a little aha break. Like, have you thought about sending the pre-listing packet? Have any of you put one together? Are you getting comfortable with this idea? Or are you gonna just be defiant and bring it with you and just call it a whole listing appointment and be there for 3 hours? Most people don't do a pre-listing packet. Most people do not. And I would just say you're definitely be standing out by putting yourself, looking professional and sending it over. And it could be just via email. Let's say you can't get it in the mail or you can't get it delivered. You could just via email and then make sure you text them. Hey, I sent you something. If they're younger, send it through the text, the PDF, so they can view it there. speak to your audience the way they want to be spoken to. Nicole, were you unmuting to share?
Yeah, I love that idea. I've never done a pre-listing packet. I do have my listing set up. It was one of the things we worked on in the summer. But I like the idea of sending them all the paperwork to sign in advance, to have the key ready. It's a great way to finish your listing appointment before you even get there. Like, I love it.
You're closing the deal, right? You're just
Yeah.
Yep. So, but a lot of people do feel nervous about that. Like, well, I don't know if they wanted to, or, how was I supposed to know? Or, so, anyway, all right. I highly encourage it. I was a heavy listing agent. I loved taking listings. And, this year alone, I had about 4 or 5. I think I have another few coming on actually. So, and I just got started back in the sales aspect. So listing appointment. The goal is to get the listing signs. Like I just said to my son today, the goal for you to be in the 7th grade class and take tests is that you just pass those tests. You're gonna pass life. You're freaking brilliant. You're amazing. But you have to pass 7th grade and 8th grade and 9th and all the way to 12th. So just be in the class to pass the class. When you're at the appointment, you're in the appointment to get the listing agreement signed. That is your goal. That is what you're aiming for. You lose sight. You're not there to be their best friend. You are there to get the agreement signed and get commitment. Barbara, Phoebe?
Well, back to what you were just saying, like about in pre-listing and then telling them to have the keys ready. Do you always ask them for that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems to kind of set the stage, like you're assuming that they're going to list with you. It's kind of like an assumptive, we're
That's
going to
right.
do this and you're going to give me the keys and I'm going to walk
Well,
out of here.
and here's the thing. If I wasn't feeling super confident after I had my pre-questionnaire, I might say it this way. Barbara, assuming that we're going to move forward with listing your home when we meet on Saturday, here's a few things that I would love for you to bring with you at the appointment, like a survey of the property, another set of keys, and I will send you a seller's disclosure so that you can fill out. So those would be the 3 things that would be your next step when you've made the commitment. That will be what we'll be moving forward with. So I wouldn't, if I could sense that she's going to be turned off by me telling her, hey, bring a set of keys, bring the survey. If I can't get that done smoothly, then I might say next step would be, so if you feel confident that we're going to move forward, here's what I would need to just, I'll bring the lockbox that day and I'll always have a sign in my car. So if you want to move forward, we can that day. Okay. Okay, great. So now I'm ready to go. If I walk in and I see a key, even if she was being tough on the phone, I got her, right? Yeah. So here it says, create a great impression to build the seller's confidence with you as their real estate agent of choice. They're choosing you amongst, I think we're down to 8,000 agents in Monmouth MLS.
Wow.
Yeah, there's about 60,000 agents still in the state though, guys. So don't think that you're just competing with the Monmouth MLS. If you take a look at Monmouth MLS, the non-member, who is the agent who's not a member of MLS, of our Monmouth MLS, the non-member is the #1 agent in the MLS, right? They're the #1 company also, the non-member. That's how many transactions are being done by agents who are not a member of our MLS. Meaning that they're a North Jersey agent, they come and show a property, and their company is not even in our MLS. Okay, so what I'm saying is you have lots of competition. Don't get cocky. Don't get comfortable. Just be on your game. Share your price recommendation, the initial price, the initial price for their property, and your reasoning behind it. And then initial price, list price, initial list price. Why do we say it that way? Or we do in this market have to talk about list price and sell price. And the sell price, if we want to drive traffic, our list price is going to be lower than our sell price. And most sellers won't get that off the bat. right? Most sellers are going to question you. Why would I need to list here if we're shooting for 650? Why are we listing at 619? Well, because, and I wouldn't even say list at 619. If we're shooting for 650, let's list for 600,000. Now this is strategy because in the computer, you're not looking up to 599,999 or 619/999. Buyers are looking in $25,000 brackets. Agents are setting buyers up on $25,000 brackets. So if you don't want to miss an auto email that goes out, and Mr. Seller, this is why I would tell you 605 is a dumb price. For $5,000, you put yourself in the $600,000 to $700,000 bracket. If you priced at 600, you went from 5 to 6, 6 to 7. Yeah, but I want the 6 something offer. Great, awesome. You're just exposing it to more people, which means the open house, the organized showings, there's going to be more people coming through. The $500,000 buyer thinks that they have a chance, right? Or the $600,000 buyer thinks that they have a chance. And the $600,000 buyer who's been looking for a while, or the 650, knows that that thing's going for 635. So we want to attract all fish. We got to lower it to a place where it attracts all eyes so that we create urgency in our offers. And educating a seller like that without any kind of evidence might be a little cuckoo. So that's where, when you're showing up on the listing consultation, that's where I would advise you to dive into your statistics, into that RPR, and really do your homework on the CMA, so that, you know, they're not questioning the validity of you choosing the price of their home or marketing their property. It's really an educated decision that they're making with you as to where to place their home in the market so it sells for the best of price and the least amount of hassle. Okay. And then the last is setting expectations for how you'll market the home and work with the sellers. Those are 3 parts of a listing agreement. I mean, listing appointment. Setting expectations is huge. Even beyond when you get the signature, you also want to then even ask, and that's all about how you work with the seller, is how would you like to be communicated with? If I have to tell you something difficult, how would you like that message to come across? Would you like an email? Would you like a conversation? Would you like a face-to-face conversation? So setting expectations has to do with disappointments as well as wins. You can't just talk about the wins, guys. When you're on a listing appointment, it can't just be like, oh, and there's gonna be multiple offers, and then the open house is gonna have so many people, and you're gonna get, no. Because you know what? Tomorrow, if the interest rates hike up to 10% and we lose a chunk of our buyers out of the pool, we might have a different tune. So the tune always to a seller is, you and I are going to be in great communication, good, bad, or indifferent. We need to talk weekly. Good, bad, or indifferent. We need to talk weekly. So typically I talk to all my sellers on Tuesdays because Monday is a little crazy. And if any offers do come in, I'm negotiating. We're seeing what is. By Tuesday, we can have a real solid conversation about what happened this weekend and where your home sits and what should we do as the next move. It's a Monday or Tuesday conversation. You don't need to talk to your seller every single day, and you don't need to talk to your seller after every single showing. Because guess what? Those buyers are leaving your house and they're going to see one more house. So give them a second to digest, to see if they like it, to see if they're going to put an offer. Because maybe, Mr. Seller, maybe, just maybe, your house is going to help. The other houses are going to help your house sell. Maybe they're going to walk out of here thinking it was okay. And now I get the feedback and they say it was okay. They're not really interested. And you get that negative feedback, really. But the truth is, they go see 2 more houses over the weekend. And by Monday, they're putting an offer on our property because guess what? We're the best looking girl at the dance. Like, it's just what it is because they went and saw what the competition is. And before some other ugly ducklings come along, they're just going to take that one. And that is what is happening in the market, because I've seen houses that I'm like, this one didn't sell in 10 days. And then boom, it's gone. It's because someone didn't fall in love with it. Right. Why didn't they fall in love with it? Because it was priced a little bit higher than it could have been priced. Had it been priced a little bit lower, everybody would have loved it. Everybody would have saw the value. And when you think about value in a house, think about when you walk the lot for a new car. right? Do you want the new car that looks like the other new car for the same sticker, but the one car has all the bells and whistles, has the wood dashboard, the leather interior, whereas the other one looks exactly the same engine, same everything, but on the interior, it's like, you know, cotton back seat, and the steering wheel doesn't have this, and it's not the metal, it's like the fake plastic chrome looking. But it's the same ticket. Which one are you getting? Clearly, you're going to get the one over here with the bells and whistles. And so it could just be those little minor upgrades in this market that a buyer goes through the house and says, you know what, that I see the value in that one now for everything else that's out there. So I always encourage sellers, just be patient to Monday or Tuesday for that feedback. And that's a great expectation, because otherwise they're calling you every second somebody wants to see the house. Every second they get a showing time request. Well, who's that? Well, do you know that agent? Well, do they sell anything here? Are they from this area? I don't know them. Really? I don't know them either. Okay, so how the listing presentation meets the seller's needs and wants. Guys, this is and we'll go into this when we get into working the buyers on sellers on how we're gonna ask through these questions. But it goes through the questions that it asks through the listing pre-listing packet is beautifully laid out for you. So it's just there. And this one says, I am knowledgeable and care. Go ahead.
Sorry, that was, I wasn't talking to you. Sorry about that, Mary Beth.
It's okay, Gina. I'm knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. Like, if not me, then who? Like, if not you, then who? They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home. So that's a nice affirmation. You walk into the house with something like that, positivity, and you're gonna go get that listing. And what I said before is you'd put it into your opportunities. The minute you have that listing appointment scheduled, you list it as an opportunity. And if you have an appointment, you put them in the appointment bucket. If they are listed, you put them in the listing bucket, and you can move them along your opportunity. So if you have not taken some of Ashley's classes on command, I highly advise you. Listing walkthrough. Now, if I was with you in person, here is my tip to the listing walkthrough. Number one is you're walking into the house, you're asking for a glass of water. You're gaining control right there. You're also bringing yourself to the kitchen, because that's where you're going to get the water. And you're going to put all your stuff down, because that's where you are telling them you're going to come back and sit at the table, at a table, not hanging out in the living room, not like you're going over to your friend's house because that's who you're listing. And they're like, oh, come over to the bar. You're hanging out there. I'm gonna put my stuff right on the table. And that's where we're going to have this business meeting, at the table. Okay. And then I might say, after I drink the water, would you like to get started and go over a few things? And then if we sit at the table and start talking about their property and the pre-listing packet and their questions, I'm just going to go with that. Usually somebody goes, oh my God, you didn't even see the house yet. Oh, do you want to see the house? And I say, we'll see the house. Or if they're real adamant, like, you got to see the house, sure, show me the house. So when you're doing the listing walkthrough, one of my favorite bold coaches, Rich Carpentieri, he would say, you walk through the house. They really want you to walk through the house, because I would say, you know what, why don't I take a quick look around the house? And I got my notebook with me, right? Let me take a quick look around the house, because believe me, I know these models. And I would like to look at the house through the eyes of the buyer. And then when I come back, I want to ask you some questions, Mr. Seller. But I'd love to take a look at the house through the eyes of the buyer. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll take a quick look and I'll be back. Now, some people that are comfortable, yeah, go ahead, whatever. Yeah, great, awesome. It's a Jamestown ranch, right? It's a Buckingham, whatever. I mean, yeah, sure, go ahead. Now, the guy who goes, no, I did some nice things. I really want to show you. Oh, okay, great, awesome. So we're walking around the house, and the trick is I go, oh, I touched the wall because there's a little nick on the wall. One, and he tells me, oh yeah, Johnny, they're throwing the ball and they just hit the wall. I'll get that fixed. I touched the doorknob, the caveta, as they call it, the drawer in the kitchen, and it wobbles a little, or I see that there's a door that's like kind of off the hinge. That's the door I touch. And he goes, oh yeah. Oh, my wife, she knocked that off with the da-da-da-da. Great. And just one more. I'll say, hey, what happened to that up there? Oh, that's just a stain. Nothing. I'll fix it. If I knock him down 3 times by the time I get back to the table, he's going to be listening to me about pricing. We're going to be talking. His house is not the Taj Mahal. He has some problems. There's little nicks here and there, nothing major, but I don't want him to be feeling like he's got gold in those walls, right? If I let him show the house, oh, and then look, I did this beautiful here, and then we put this over here, jet tub. It's a soaking tub. Nobody likes jets. They want a soaking tub, really? Because last time I checked, everybody wants the jets, right? But he's gonna try to sell me on a soaking tub. Guys, they'll take the reins, you'll lose the power, you'll sit down at the table and they will tell you what to list it for. So you have to have some control in that walkthrough. As you walk through the house, you're also gaining some rapport with that seller, right? Hey, so how long you said you had to be there? You're reviewing almost the questions that you asked them in the pre-questionnaire. Now, Gina, if I didn't ask them questions because I'd have a chance to, I might do that on the walkthrough. I mean, that'd be really risky that I'm going to go sit at a table and not know anything about the seller, but I have done that before. But I can remind them, like, you told me you wanted to go to California. Is that still in the makings? When did you have to be there? 3 months? Is that still the case? Okay, great. Yeah, awesome. Hey, you didn't see any houses. Have you been out to see any houses yet? No. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we just went to an open house. Oh, yeah, we got that girl coming over later. We were interviewing her too. Oh, okay. Right. So now you get some information. So as you do that listing walkthrough, it's a really great time for you to check in, make sure everything is the way it was supposed to be. We're still in the same situation, so we can present the way we need to. Come back to the table. Now we sit down. Look, if one party doesn't really care and they don't want to be there, whatever. Maybe they want to sit on the couch while I'm talking to the other one, whatever. Are you going to be able to move forward if he doesn't, oh, yeah, no, whatever. Can you make a decision if she's like, no, yeah. I want to check in because I love when they separate. Somebody's got to go put the kids away. Somebody's got to go watch the football game. And now you're presenting to half the party when they said everybody was going to be there. So be mindful of that and just tell them, look, it's only going to be about 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes that we go through the main important stuff. So, if you could sit through that, then we could do the kids. Kristen?
Hi, I just have a quick question. Do you always give your recommended list price at every listing presentation?
So I was saying that before. I personally do. I don't feel comfortable like not giving my information. Like if they're pressing me for it, my radar is telling me they're probably interviewing another agent. So you know what? I better just show up, follow up game needs to be on point. But if I withhold the information, I'm not going to win. I know that. I've definitely gotten there where I didn't give the information and I didn't win because I wasn't willing to be open with them when I knew that there was other competition. So me personally, I might not give them the exact strategy. I might say, are you interviewing any other agents? And then they tell me yes, or they're asking me for the exact. And I'm like, I would give you a range. And if I were you, I might price it here. But then again, are we putting it on the market today, Mr. Seller? No. Okay. So when I come back for the listing paper, it might be a different price also. There was one agent that I know very well, and she got burnt so many times, Kristen, by giving the price and sharing her marketing strategy, and then some other agent in the neighborhood just taking it and running with it, beating them out. Like, well, she said 8. Oh, you can get 850 for that, right? And then they get the listing at 850, and then they take a price reduction for 800. So I do think that your gut is going to be able to tell you, should I really disclose everything, or should I give them enough information that they would choose me? I don't want to kill my chances.
Right. Okay.
But it
I was
feels
just
odd if
curious.
you're sitting in somebody's house and they ask you, like, what do you think the price is? And you won't give them a price.
I was just curious because when I started, I was always told like, don't give it right away, look, because you have to see the house and see what they really have and tell them you'll call them the next day once and I'm
No.
like, I've never done that. I've always
No.
I've
Okay.
always
And
been felt obligated to, give not obligated, but comfortable, I should say, to give the price at the
absolutely. And
appointment.
I think shame on you guys, shame on me,
I mean,
shame on
again,
us.
you're right though. If they're looking to not list right this minute, then you do kind of have to wait, but those were
Yeah.
always instances where they were right now listing. So
Yeah, I mean, and I just feel like, look, you're up at bat. You did your best. You presented. And this is the thing, guys. you were in a competition, like you're interviewing. They don't have to choose you. You probably are going up. It would make sense that you're going up against a couple other agents. And so when you're showing up on those appointments, give it your best shot and know that some people are they're not for you. Some people you're like, thank God I didn't get that listing. Dave?
Yeah, just a quick question, Mary Beth. What if, you're speaking to the seller and they say, okay, everything you said to me was great. I spoke to 3 other agents. They're going to do all the same marketing as you. I heard the same story 3 times. What sets you apart? What are you going to do that you're so special that I should list with you?
Well, first of all, I don't know that I'd want to answer that over the phone.
No, in person, in person.
Oh, in person. Okay. So what's so special? Well, I would also want to know, I would want to understand what is important to them. A
Right.
couple things that I think are unique to us that we can say as to what's unique or what makes us so special. Our network of agents. So we have the largest brokerage in the MLS. We have the largest family group social chats where we're sharing coming soon properties. We're sharing, we have all of our vendors. So that the strength of our KW family network is one. The fact that we also are, and this is how you should explain it, have a global reach with a local expertise. So our global reach allows us to understand all markets, understand the movement. Being in New Jersey and New York area, we are such a migrant, area, landmass in the
Yeah.
States that
Yep.
the connection outside of the States is also another important one. And then on more local, how's your communication skills? Like, is there something about you that you're available? You're full time. You handled sales for. You go back to your value proposition as to, why you. And
Okay.
I always would say, what's important about that to you? You asked me about my sales for the year. What's important about that to you? Well, I really want to work with an agent that has been, been getting their feet wet and they've had experience. And I would say to them, can I share with you why maybe an agent who doesn't have all of that clientele might be the best agent for you? I am a hardworking, dedicated person. I have been plugging myself into this industry. I did my 75 hours. I am constantly in classes. I don't have tons of clients and I can really coddle my sellers. Whereas
Yeah.
some listing agents right now might have 5 or 6 properties and really can't give all the main attention to you, Mr. Seller. So by choosing me, I don't have many clients that I have to put my focus on. You would be my main focus.
Yeah, perfect answer. Yep.
Yeah, so there's lots of different ways you can spin it when you're not that and you have a team. Oh, well, I have lots of people. When you get me, you get everybody, whatever works for
Yep.
you. But and then just finishing this up so we don't go over too much is handwritten note, thank you. What's the aftermath of that listing appointment? This has got to be a quick move. Maybe it's flowers to the house. Maybe it's something that they said. Maybe it was a specific plant that they liked or whatnot. And then the listing agreement. And I just want to show you something with the listing agreement. When you guys go into your KW All Access, some of you may not know what this is, but this is KW All Access.com. It's a specific website that was built for just our offices. And when you go into agent dashboard, in your dashboard, you will find, depending on what market center you're with, what location you're with. So I go to the dashboard for By the Bay. In here are all the important links, right? We talked about Flex, Command, DocuSign. Here's Marketing Center, which is marketing. And if I go in here, front desks, language is spoken. If you need to find an agent that speaks a different language, there's the video for the YouTube library for some of the signs and lock boxes, but I'm looking for frequently used forms and you will see printable documents. Okay. Frequently used forms and printable documents. What that does is it brings you into a Google Drive where all of the documents that are in DocuSign are here in a PDF version for you. So if I were to go here and say, let me look at this listing for sellers, and I'm going to look at with optional receipt listing with the CIS, sellers, landlord, hold harmless, NJR, informed dual consent, Monmouth listing agreement. exclusive right to sell, okay? And then there's the coming soon one. This is your good old listing agreement in Monmouth MLS, right? It's 4 pages, 5 pages, what do they do? Oh, the attorney memorandum is a bunch of pages. So 7 pages, if you were to print it all out. This is where we need to read. And this is where a seller, you should have this pre-filled out when you go and sit with that seller, because you don't want to sit there having to put their address, their name. This is another thing, BB, that if I filled this out and I'm just going with it, they're like, oh, she's already got us all filled out. Like I'm assuming we are closing this listing appointment. And so with this listing agreement, I ask you, you know, have you read it? Here's the property address at a price of, or a rental rate of. And then you go into here and here's all the 1 through now 14, 15 stipulations in this contract. The owner agrees to put a lockbox or doesn't put a lockbox. The commission, what I was talking about before is if before the expiration date, this is where you put your commission, that you're going to get paid X amount % of the sale. However, where is the one that says the expiration not executed right here? Number 6, if a lease or a contract for the sale or exchange of the property of any other agreement for the transfer of property is executed within a period of, and this is where we put 180 days, 90 days, whatever you want to put, after the expiration or any extension thereof to a prospective buyer or a leasee that was introduced to the property during the term of the agreement, the owner shall pay the listing realtor a commission of the above described, irrespective of when the closing date is. It just has to commence, the contract would have to be commenced within that 180 days, right? It says at the bottom here that, however, the owner shall not be obligated to pay such commission if a bona fide listing agreement is entered into during the protection period, okay? So if it goes with another broker, that's where it comes out. And, you know, so here is, and then we do our cooperating down here in number 9 and 10, depending on if it's a lease or a listing. And then there's all other sorts of documents that do have to get signed in order to be compliant. And yet that listing agreement is what I would explain at a listing appointment, so that they know what to expect. And then once they get that contract, they also might be a very high C. If they're a high C behavior, I am probably also bringing a New Jersey sales contract with me. And I'm going to leave it with them and I'm going to let them know, hey, read this on your own. This is the next step. When we get offers, here's what it looks like. It comes in this form. Now, why would I give it to a high C personality? Because I don't want them to get like frazzled when the offers come over, that's the first time they're seeing that language. A high C personality would want to have that time to like read through it. So I'm just going like, let's get this done now. And one other thing, when you guys take a listing, I will advise you, especially with how much the towns have changed, the ordinances, the CO, the everything, okay? You take a listing, tell your seller, get down to the township and order the CO right now. Let them come out and let them see if they fail, if they pass. They may be told that the whole fence has to be taken down, that the pool is in the yard and it can't be. I mean, all sorts of crazy things. Kristen, is this like a real life situation right now?
I'm just asking, sorry. Do you pull
Oh,
an
no.
Oprah when you go to a listing appointment? before
I
you go?
personally pull an Oprah when I go to a listing appointment to see if I know anything that they're not going to tell me.
Right, okay. Thank
Right,
you.
we talked about Oprah open permits, and I think you were the one that said you can go ahead and just request them online and just request them, right? So yes, I absolutely do that. And as far as like the CO, I'm just two closings, the last 2 closings of mine were delayed by just a couple of days and 1 a week. But from the domino effect, the other property that the people that we were buying from were buying, that agent didn't get the CO at all. So they were going to close and they didn't have a CO. And then the next seller had a problem with their fence in the back. So it was like, okay, we're ready to go. And our rate lock is going to expire. So just to be like, what's an item of value, Mr. Seller? I would suggest to go down and get that CO ordered right now. Because what's the worst thing that happens? They have to pay for a reinspect because they're out of date. And it might be like, I don't know, $50. $125 at most.
Some
and
towns
it's
won't even let you order it until you have an,
a buyer,
yeah, contract, yeah, even for
Yeah.
rentals, yeah.
even for rentals. Okay, so
So
every town
that-
is very specific. Every town is specific. And if you're coming from a town that has the full-blown CO, Kristen and I grew up in Manalapan. It's like the worst inspection ever. And we also had some fire and smoke. Then I moved to a town, Perth Amboy, by my first house, and they did not have COs. And I'm like, what do you mean there's no CO? Doesn't the town come out? So I'm telling myself as the buyer, oh yeah, but the seller still has to fix the things that come off the CO list. Well, there's no CO. I'm like, oh my God. And now fast forward, I've been here since 2015, 8 years. We have a CO now. So that's changed. We also rent control changed. So please, when you're going to represent a seller, it might be in the best interest to go down to the city yourself and find out what information you need to know so that you're not getting like an okie doke. All right. I kept you guys a little bit later, but it's a seller conversation and it really is an important one. So I thank you for hanging on. We'll be back here on Wednesday and we'll be talking about working with the buyers and sellers. So once again, you guys call me if you need me. See you guys back here on Wednesday. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.